Hello everyone, James Bichelle here, and I'm here just bringing you a little quick hitter. I was going to do a comprehensive Stannis and Dany video, which I still am, but because I have 3 exams next week, I decided to put it on the shelf, and I'll bring you this quick hitter. Now, what I want to talk about here is it's about Stannis. It's about how I believe D&D portrayed the character wrong, what I would have done differently in Season 5, and a Season 6 theory I have, if he's still alive. Uh, I really don't think he is, but if he is, I have a theory on what his role could be, and it's a good redemption arc in my opinion. So let's get into it. First thing I want to talk about is Stephen Delaney's performance. I mean, this dude was Stannis. I think he was a great Stannis. I think he was a perfect Stannis. I wouldn't want to see if going back in time, I wouldn't want to see anyone else play Stannis. I thought he did a great job. He had his mannerisms down. He had his demeanor down. I mean, you looked at him, he was, he really had that ice cold look to him. He was Stannis. So this is nothing on Stephen Delane. I think he's brilliant. I will follow his career, and he's just a great actor. Him and Charles Dance, in my opinion, were the greatest actors on the show. This portrayal, the way he was written, well, I think that was wrong. And I go to the season 4, episode 2, Lion in the Rose, the Purple Wedding episode. Show watchers will think Stannis burned 4 people for not converting to his religion. On the show, they burned him. They burned the 4 people, the 4 Florents, because they didn't get rid of their idols to the 7. So, that's not the case. I'll ask you guys a question. In the books, how many people did Stannis burn? That answer would be 5. He's only burned 5 people in the books. Alistair Florent, Mance, but it's Rattleshirt as Mance, and 3 cannibals in his camp. So they burned for a reason. I mean, Alistair Florent sold out Stannis to the Lannisters, to Tywin, and was going to sell, most importantly, he was going to sell off SHIREEN as a hostage, so Stannis would end his claim. Mance obviously was burned because he deserved the Night's Watch. I mean, that's just the way it is. And the 3 cannibals were burned for being some cannibalistic dudes. Cannibalism isn't cool. And if you believe that Stannis burned Gunster Sunglass and Humbert Brambleton's sons, that was actually Selyse that burned them when Stannis was fighting at the Blackwater. So you can see the difference there. First off, at that moment where in the show Stannis is burning the 4 Florents, it's actually only 1 Florent, and he was burned for a reason, not because of his religious idols, but because he was going to sell Stannis off and sell off SHIREEN as a hostage. I mean, the dude had to go. I'm sorry. So people that think that Stannis is burning up people just because they don't follow his religion and he's some religious zealot, well, that's because D&D wants you to think that for some reason. When in reality, Stannis isn't really even that religious. He's doubting it the whole time. He even said himself that the reason why he doesn't believe in gods is because why would a god kill his parents right in front of him? When Stephen Baratheon was killed along with his wife in the right by Storm's End, when their ship went down. So they really, I'll never understand. That's my biggest point of contention with D&D, is that particular moment, because it was so off base. I mean, even if you don't like a character, why can't you just portray it normally? Why can't you portray it the way it happened in the books? Why do you have to make this big of a change? Just so, I mean, it's obviously at that point, that was the point where I knew they were going to paint him as a villain, and that his storyline isn't going to end out good. I mean, I knew at that point, I was like, man, I know this isn't going to end well for Stannis. That was that moment. Another thing, there was the video, the infamous D&D video where Benioff reveals that it was inside the HBO episode after episode 9 of season 5, where he says, "Oh, George told us this was going to happen in terms of the burning of SHIREEN." In that same video, Weiss says Stannis was ambitious. Now, I don't know about you guys, even the Stannis haters, even you guys got to admit that ambition isn't a motivator in Stannis. His motivations lies in duty and his rigidity when it comes to duty and law. He wants to be king, not because he wants to be king. It's because he needs to be king. I honestly think he's got OCD, you know, when it comes to duty and stuff and law. I think it's like it gnaws at him. You know, he has to follow it to a T. And since he is the true king, you know, he's got to do it. I mean, you know, I got a little bit of OCD. Whenever I leave my car, I got to make sure it's locked. I got to make sure every door is locked when I leave it, you know. So I know if he has that feeling about his, you know, like following law to a T, well, then he's going to have to do it. That's the bottom line. And, you know, and then there's the Justin Massey speech in The Winds of Winter. So, spoiler if you haven't read it, but where he tells Justin Massey to fight on in his name for SHIREEN if he dies. And that's part of his duty, you know, his duty to his house. And that ties into whether I believe that Stannis will burn SHIREEN or not, but I'll get into that in a later video. I want to talk about how I would have done season 5 and 6 differently in terms of Stannis. And this is under the pretense that he's going to burn SHIREEN in the books. If it's true, if I was one of the writers and George did actually say Stannis will, he had not just say SHIREEN will burn the books, but he said Stannis will burn SHIREEN in the books. This is how I would do it. Okay, and season 5, first off, at the end of season 4, when Stannis smashes the wildling host, I would have made sure we had the Stannis chant, you know, the Stannis. Yeah, I would have made sure we had that, you know. But once again, them painting him as a villain, you know, they had to come in with the ominous music and him and Davos looking like, you know, they were looking hard and shit, you know. But I would have had them do the Stannis. No, that's such a great moment from the books. But aside from that, season 5, the start of it, I actually like Stannis' story arc. You know, I would have stuck with that, you know. And once again, this is with the pretense that SHIREEN, that he's going to have to burn SHIREEN, that he's actually going to burn SHIREEN in the books, which means he's most likely going to lose the Battle of Ice, if that's the case. I believe he's going to win the Battle of Ice. So that means I probably don't think he's going to burn SHIREEN in the books. But this is if he burns SHIREEN in the show. If he actually does, I think he's going to lose the Battle of Ice. So season 5, you know, we would have had the build-up of the first part, them leaving, showing more desperation in the, you know, when they're traveling to Winterfell and there's the, and they're stuck in the, you know, in the weather, you know, I would have shown more desperation, built that out more, you know, showing people dying, showing the cannibals and them getting burned, the cannibals, you know, because people, it's such a dire situation that people are eating each other, you know what I'm saying? And then you could have had the Theon, well, okay, I'll leave the Theon stuff out. We'll leave that out. But they get to Winterfell, you know, in the books, there's the whole drilling of the holes in the eyes and going to be drawing the Boltons in, and Manderly is really on Stannis' side and stuff like that. You know, obviously they didn't have all that, but I actually probably would have had, you know, Stannis going and meeting with the mountain clans, you know, compromising with them, trying to get him on his side. Maybe some training montages with the wildlings and stuff like that. And the end of season 5 would have had Stannis losing the Battle of Ice. They would have lost and they would have retreated. Season 6, they're going to make their way back to the wall. And this is still with the, you know, and the show, this is still with SHIREEN and Selyse being with Stannis. So I know in the books they're in 2 different spots and stuff like that. But we're talking about in the show here, Selyse and SHIREEN is still with Stannis at this point. They stood in the back while the battle was happening and they retreated. On the way back, the weather is just pounding them. This is season 6, mind you. And it gets to the point where, you know, They're really, really desperate. They're down to a minuscule amount of troops. They're getting pursued by the Boltons. And then I want to make sure that it's super desperate. The walls come down and the others are coming. This is when SHIREEN hammers the Azor Ahai stuff to Stannis. And that's when they burn SHIREEN. That's how I would have done Season 5 and Season 6 differently. And then obviously, I mean, then you would find out that Stannis is a false... Stannis is not Azor Ahai, and he would probably get wiped out at that point. But also at that moment where in Season 6 that they burn SHIREEN, that's when it would actually awaken Jon Snow at the Wall, or wherever he is at that time. But that's just how I would have done Season 5 and Season 6 different. It's too late now. You know, that toothpaste is already out of the tube, as they say. So I'm going to bring up my Season 6 theory if Stannis is still alive. I think it's a possibility he's still alive. They didn't show it. I know the whole director said, oh, they didn't want to show it because of gratuitous violence. Let you guys know, this is the same director of the same episode where Meryn Trant got, Friday the 13th. He got the psycho treatment, He got his eyes clawed out and his throat slashed and blood squirting all over the place. This is the same director who said that Stannis' death would have been too gratuitous. But I digress. So, if he's still alive, my theory is they'll open with, I don't know if they'll open with it, but they'll show early in Season 6 that when Bran wants to go swing the sword, he says, go on, do your duty. There's the tree right behind Stannis. And that's when she'll, see in the corner of her eye, she'll see Theon and Ramsay jumping at that same time. That's when she'll see that, and then she'll just slash the tree above Stannis' head. And she'll be like, oh, you're not worth it, or whatever. And then she's got to go, she'll go take care of Theon and Sansa. Somehow Stannis makes it back up to the wall. I mean, if Littlefinger can make it from Winterfell to King's Landing in an episode, why the hell Stannis can make it up to the wall? I mean, it's TV magic, whatever. So he gets to the wall, and he sees Mel there. She's got Jon Snow with her, his dead ass, and he's okay. We'll say the lights wash through him in the ice cells, his dead body in the ice cells or whatever. And Mel is telling Stannis, she fucked up. She's sorry, but she fucked up, and he's not Azor Ahai. Jon is Azor Ahai. And that, Stannis is like, well, shit, he lost his family. Selyse Selyse hung herself and burned SHIREEN, obviously. So, he's gonna do one last thing for the realm. We know that Stannis is a man of duty. He's gonna do his duty to the realm. He's gonna tell Mel, I know someone with King's blood. Me. He sacrifices himself to bring back Azor Ahai. He burns to bring back Azor Ahai. That's how I think I would. I mean, if they brought me in to be a writer for the show right now, that's how I would do it. I believe that it is a befitting end to a story. It would be a great redemption arc. That's how I would do it. But this is D&D and Brian Cogman, so that ain't gonna happen. But I can hope. And if it does happen, you heard it from me. But that's it, people. Jimmy B out. Thanks for watching.